ahead on 12 News, 5 athletes, 1 special story. How these Wayzata grads are preparing to represent Minnesota. Plus, a rally at the Capitol.
Say no to murderers! Say no to murderers!
Why some Brooklyn Park residents are among those wanting to make their voices heard. But first, what a local fishing business is calling unprecedented.
It can get to you. It is a little challenging.
12 News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. After a long, brutal winter, the countdown to Minnesota's fishing opener is finally over.
Hundreds of thousands of anglers are packing Minnesota lakes this weekend, hoping to catch the big one. But as Delane Cleveland reports, it won't be an ideal opener for everyone.
It's very relaxing to me, and I don't know, there's something about the quest.
It's said that good things come to those who wait.
They're really fun to fish.
And for fishermen like Greg Timble,
I maintain I can go to probably any lake with bass and I'll catch some fish. I can find them.
he bought a fishing license and some new tackle Friday afternoon with grand expectations for the weekend.
I have a secret neighborhood lake, suburban lake, that's quite good, so I'll probably go over there over the weekend and not fight the traffic and catch some fish.
Meanwhile, over at Medicine Lake,
We've got pretty darn cold water, and it's really high.
this year's fishing opener does not mean business as usual for Joe Hardy.
Well, I'm not opening as normal. I'm a week late right now. So my fishing opener really is next weekend.
On a normal fishing opener weekend, this dock here would be filled with boats. But the high and choppy waters have made that impossible for Joe Hardy and his business.
Well, for the second year in a row, we've had late ice out. Then it kind of rolled right into heavy rain, and the lake came up 1.5 feet after we got started. And so really, it's been the high water and the bad weather.
As a result, the fleet of boats he would usually rent out to paying customers on opening weekend are sitting on dry land.
So it's unprecedented.
Unprecedented because this is now the second straight year that Hardy won't be able to reel in any business for the opener.
It can get to you. It is a little challenging.
Yet despite the loss of business, Hardy says that in this line of work, you have to be optimistic.
You kind of learn over time that you're like a farmer. You kind of deal with what Mother Nature gives you. And if it's not good, better days are ahead.
In Plymouth, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
According to the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, they sold 264,000 fishing licenses through Thursday. That's about 4,500 more than were sold through opening weekend last year.
A Brooklyn Park man who authorities say posed as a cop to handcuff and rape a woman pleaded guilty. Gideon Arrington entered an Alford plea to 1 count of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. An Alford plea allows the defendant to maintain his innocence, but also acknowledges there's a strong enough case to convict him. In return for the plea, 3 other felony charges were dropped. Arrington will be sentenced in August.
Drivers in the North Metro will get a taste of road construction season this weekend. The eastbound lanes of Interstate 694 in Brooklyn Center will be closed starting Friday night, but it won't be as bad as you might think. MnDOT is repaving a section of 694 where it intersects with I-94. Traffic will be diverted to 94. Once you get past the work zone, you should be able to get back on 694. Work should wrap up by Monday morning. Recent killings in Ethiopia are causing outrage among immigrants who now live in the Northwest Metro.
Oromia is one of 9 regional states in Ethiopia. And last week, student protesters there were gunned down by Ethiopian security forces. Now, demonstrators around the world are reacting.
Say no to murderers! Say no to murderers! Say no to murderers!
Today, demonstrators gathered at the state capitol in St. Paul to raise awareness and to condemn the killings. About 40,000 Oromos live in Minnesota, including many in the Northwest Metro. And 2 Brooklyn Park residents say political prisoners should be released and U.S. aid cut off to the Ethiopian government.
It's about raising awareness. We want the U.S. government to know what's going on. We want the Minnesota state government to know what's going on back home, and that the U.S. needs to stop providing our tax-paying money to support this regime.
Enough is enough, and we don't want our kids and the students being killed without no reason.
The dispute centers on the taking of farmland in Oromia. Demonstrators say more than 70 students have been killed in confrontations with the Ethiopian government in the past 2 weeks.
It is often called an invisible population. In Minnesota, more than 15,000 children have at least one parent behind bars. Thursday, state agencies came together at the Brookdale Library to remind people of the needs of children with incarcerated parents. Research shows those children have a hard time in school, struggle with mental and physical health issues, and often have a social stigma.
We often forget that these children are in every one of our schools, in every one of our communities, and it really behooves us to support children and families. We often think that this isn't our issue or that this doesn't affect our family, and in fact it does in every way.
Families received literature on how to talk to children about incarceration, and children even got a special visit from Elmo. It is Mother's Day weekend, and instead of buying Mom a bouquet of flowers, why not mix it up and make her an arrangement in a pot?
12 News reporter Sonia Goins goes in the garden now to show us how.
Hi guys, I'm at Line Garden Centers in Maple Grove. I'm joined with Donna Italia. She's going to show us how to make Mother's Day planners. Donna, is this really simple to do?
Yes, it is. Yep. It's very nice, and it's one of those that anyone could do it. You can pick it out with your kids, so the dads can come in with their kids, and then they can pick it out and they can do it at home, or they can do it here if they wanted to. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just adding, this is a dahlia. The one I'm making up is for sun, but you can certainly pick ones that you could use for shade, like the begonias here, so you can just mix them up.
Now, is there a certain type of plants that you would not put in this bouquet, because this is for sun?
This one's for sun. I probably wouldn't do like begonias, or I wouldn't do anything like your oriental lilies, because they're only going to be short-lived. So I wouldn't do something like that. You could put hostas in here, but the hostas aren't going to do as well.
That's really pretty. Now, is there a certain order that you're putting this in?
Basically, I have something that's taller in the back, and then these are going to sort of cascade. So I just have a bouquet. You can put more in here if you wanted to, but you don't have to.
Okay. And fertilizer is key, of course.
Fertilizer is key. I do use Osmocote. You can add that later in the soil, or you can use it right when you're planting.
Okay. And this looks like it's really easy for the kids.
This is real easy, yep. And the kids can do it and make a mess, and they'll feel fun, so there you go.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. And of course, if you don't want to do this, you can always buy your own in Maple Grove. Sonia Goins, 12 News.
All right. Well, Donna also says most soil mixtures contain peat moss, so you don't have to add that fertilizer right away. Just make sure to water when necessary. Well, still ahead, 5 Wayzata grads get ready to represent Minnesota at the Special Olympics.
And a little bit later in sports, we hear from the new head football coach at Park Center High School.
But first, the fishing opener will start out cool and dry Saturday, but then the rain moves in.
Minnesota will be sending 60 athletes to New Jersey this summer to compete in the Special Olympics USA Games.
And 5 of those athletes are graduates of Wayzata High School. Reporter Shannon Slatton introduces us to them.
Meet Abby, Amanda, Jay, Allie, and Tim, 5 local athletes
Go Minnesota!
who are headed to the Special Olympics USA Games.
So shocked? Is it, what? Really? It's me? I'm going? Sweet.
Tim Strom will play on the flag football team as a running back.
Just like AP, Adrian Pearson, and I'll be that person, and that'll be amazing.
And he's been practicing.
Practice makes perfect.
Just like bowler Allie Henley, who has been bowling since the 7th grade.
It's just a fun thing to do with your friends, and I enjoy hearing the pins go crash.
In the pool, Abby Hirsch and Jay Hannon are getting ready for individual races and medleys.
And I am training hard for the 2014 USA Games to do my best for the state.
Abby has been doing double duty.
I've been swimming on Friday mornings at 5 in the morning.
She's also been trained as an ambassador for the Special Olympics.
I do global messenger programs where we go out in the community and we talk about Special Olympics to people.
Bocce ball player Amanda Valla has been to the USA Games 3 times. She has easy advice for her teammates.
It is very fun and encouraging, especially when you're trying something new for the first time.
In Plymouth, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
Good luck, everyone. The games are in New Jersey. They'll be held in June the 14th through the 21st. Well, coming up, a European invasion in Osseo.
But first in sports, get set for the fishing opener with Channel 12's resident pro, Terry Tuma. John Jacobson is in next.
When the fall sports season rolls around, a new head coach will lead the Park Center football program. Jay Wilcox talked with former Pirates assistant Paul Strong, who was selected as the new head coach.
Thanks, John. And we are joined by Paul Strong, the new head football coach at Park Center High School. And Coach, congratulations on getting the job. How excited are you to be a head coach here at Park Center?
I'm very excited. This is a long process, and the kids were thrilled about it. And so I'm looking forward to continuing some of the things that Coach Fogg put in place and continue to build on that foundation that we started 3 years ago. Last year we completed very well, and this year I think these kids are understanding that now we can just finish ball games, and so they were excited to know that a couple of our staff were coming back.
How important was it to have been here in the past so you've come into this job, knowing the kids and knowing the situation fairly well and everything?
It was a big plus. Park Center grows on you. My wife teased me and said that this is like my second family, and a lot of our kids, once they know that you care about them, they fight for you. And so it was hard for me to venture thinking about going somewhere else when these kids demonstrated to me last year that we're really close. And so just to be a part to continue to be here for them and to see the excitement that they have, and they knew that we were going to get a good coach. When we told them that there was over 40 applicants, they were like, wow.
What do you do to get started? Obviously, practice doesn't start till August officially, but I know there's a lot that goes on in the off season. What are some of the things you're doing right now to get started?
Yeah. Well, we have some of our returning players running track, and then as you see, we have a lot of them in the weight room. Before you guys arrived, it was crowded in here. And so we're also making sure that our kids are academically eligible. So once we start practice, we got everybody on board.
Thanks so much for joining us, Coach, and best of luck. And should be a great time having you on board as the Pirates head coach.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited.
All right, Paul Strong, the new head football coach at Park Center. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Coach and Jay. Minnesota's walleye season begins at 12:01 Saturday morning. I talked with Channel 12 angler Terry Tuma about this year's opener and asked him how the long winter and cold, wet April might affect fishing this weekend.
Well, it's really going to affect the walleye opener, especially, John, there'll be 3 different calendar periods, if you will, of the walleye. We're going to have some bodies of water further north, generally speaking. We're going to see walleyes that haven't even started thinking about spawning yet. In other words, it'll be the pre-spawn. There'll be some lakes where they're going to be spawning, and some lakes they'll be done spawning. So it's going to vary just according to water temperature, which in relation is going to be where they're located at in the state. So that's going to make a big difference in where we can find these fish. And there's some lakes, I spoke to several people yesterday and today, resorters and so forth, people in the industry, and there's going to be quite a few lakes that are going to still be froze over. And so it's going to vary, and as far as an angler, should be able to catch fish. If they're spawning, it's going to be a little tougher bite, but we still can catch them.
Generally, what works early in the season for walleye?
There are 3 ways that's going to work very, very well. One is going to be jig and minnow, which is very productive, light bait rigging with either minnows and or leeches. And then the third is crankbaits. And so many people will say, well, crankbaits don't work when the water temperature is so cold. That's absolutely not true. Crankbaits will catch walleyes in 30-degree water temperatures. It's just that small, slow, and subtle at that time, or at this time. And so there'll be 3 very efficient ways of catching those fish.
Governor's opener this year in the Brainerd Lakes area. What's fishing looking like up there?
Well, ice just went out on Gull, John, and so it's going to be that stage of are the walleyes going to be spawning or just prior to spawn. But along with that, there's a lot of lakes right in that general area that can be extremely productive at this time of the year, some of the smaller lakes. And I would, Gull Lake is a great walleye lake. I assume it's going to be a pretty good bite.
Thanks, Terry, and that's it for sports.
Thanks, John. We'll be right back. A group of 9 young adults walked away from their strict religious upbringing and embraced the modern world.
They wrote a book called Hutterites, Our Story to Freedom. And they're touring the country and telling their story. This Saturday, they will be at the Barnes & Noble bookstore in Maple Grove. Hutterites speak a form of ancient German, live in communal rural areas, and abide by laws long forgotten by the rest of the world.
It's totally different now. It's actually hard to describe how much it's different. It's like from being in a box to not having any dream, any desire, any say-so of any kind, to now all of a sudden you have all these freedoms, and where do you go?
Hutterites are often compared to the Amish, but unlike the Amish, they embrace technology. And if you'd like to meet the authors, they'll be at the Barnes & Noble in Maple Grove on Saturday from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. Well, classic car enthusiasts have had Saturday, May 10th circled on their calendars for a long time.
As Eric Nelson found out in our weekend showcase, they have been gearing up for a special event in Osseo.
Osseo is going to have a European look and feel on Saturday. A variety of foreign cars will roll into the city for a vintage car show.
They're going to have MGs, Jaguars, Spitfires, Lotus, a whole bunch of really neat cars.
Thanks to these classic cars, Osseo will turn back the clock and salute the past. One of the foreign cars you're going to see in Osseo on Saturday belongs to former Mayor Al Lindquist. It's his fire engine red British-built MGB. This is his baby. Lindquist has had his 1971 MGB for 20 years. For him, it has literally been a joyride.
This is like riding a roller skate. It really is a lot of fun. And it's small, but it's bigger than a motorcycle, and it's got a top on it, and it's got heat.
Of course, older cars also need lots of attention. So Lindquist has spent plenty of time tinkering with his MGB to keep it running.
I retired about 10 years ago. I was an air traffic controller. And so now I putz with little sports cars, and I putz with wooden boats, and I try and stay out of my wife's hair if I possibly can.
Lindquist says the car is a great hobby, and it keeps him busy.
If you've just retired and you don't play golf, buy one of these, don't tell your wife, put it in the garage, and then you can tinker with it.
Lindquist's car is even reporter-friendly. It's always fun to take a spin around town in a classic ride. In Osseo, I'm Eric Nelson, Channel 12 News.
The key, you will be tinkering on that. The car show runs from 10 to 3 in downtown Osseo. And that does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Community Corner is coming up next. Have a great weekend, everyone.